All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another free training inside of real estate school. I am your host, David Dodge. And today we are going to be talking about the mindset that is going to be required or suggested to get started investing in real estate.
House so easy, we close fast, and anytime that works for you. Your house don't need it, we'll throw cash, it hits so fast, don't know what to do.
All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode or free training, I should say, inside of real estate school. I am your host, David Dodge. And today we are going to be talking about the mindset that is going to be required or needed or suggested to get started investing in real estate. Before we jump in here, I do want to just mention that real estate school, let's find this little window here. This looks like the right one, is officially at 777 members. So we are cruising. We're growing like crazy. We have a classroom with all sorts of free stuff. We have a calendar with a bunch of events. And we are just having a lot of fun, rocking and rolling with real estate school. So again, today's training, it's all about the mindset that's needed in order to get started. And I think the best way for me to kind of start this call or start this training is to talk about some of the conversations that I have with some of my students, or some of the students that I've had over the years. And what they're doing, what they're not doing, what they're facing when they come and they work with me, and some of the things that we kind of talk about, in the beginning of that mentorship program or of that coaching, and what that kind of looks like. So a couple examples for sake of conversation here today would be that, sometimes students will come to me, they'll hire me, they'll join our mastermind group, and I'll jump on the phone with them or on the coaching calls. I'll ask them to introduce themselves, and it just seems like a lot of the times it's very similar in what's happening. And what I mean by that is they have taken tons of courses, they're watching hundreds of hours on YouTube, they are essentially doing everything to learn the business, but they're not participating in the business. They're not doing anything to essentially further themselves, or another way to word this would be to shorten the curve or shorten the time frame for them to get a deal. And obviously my job as a coach and a mentor is to guide them and to help them speed up the process to, maybe get that first deal, or maybe to get more deals, right? And essentially what I'm seeing is people are two things. Number one, they don't think that they have enough information, right? So they are constantly thinking that they need to learn the next step, or learn all of the steps before they start taking action. That's one thing. And then another thing, which kind of goes hand in hand with this, is they have a lot of analysis paralysis, because there's so much information. They constantly feel as if they need to learn more, and they're not doing what matters. So let's just jump to the chase, guys. What matters? Well, here's the deal. Houses are bought from people. Properties are bought from people, okay? It's very important that we get people on the phone and we have conversations with them if we want to have success in this business. It doesn't matter what your exit strategy is, wholesale, fix and flip, rental, whatever. It doesn't matter. Those are all secondary to getting on the phone with a seller, okay? So the main mindset that I just really want to solidify today and just really focus on is, this is a business where we have to talk to a lot of people. So if you are one of these folks watching this, or you're here live today, and you are just diving into content and videos and all of this additional stuff, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just want you to know that you're just kicking the can down the road. All right. To get started in this business, you need to get sellers, people that own property, on the phone, period. All right. That is literally step one in this business. So some of the things that I essentially teach and tell, some of my students that join the mastermind group or, come work with me is stop educating yourself on all the possibilities. Like, yeah, it's good to know some stuff, but most of the time people know more than they need to. They're ready to go, but they don't feel as if they're ready to go. And that is such a false mindset. That is such a bad thing, right? In order to have success in this business, you only need to focus on the next step. Well, if you haven't started yet, step number one is getting people on the phone that own properties. Well, you can do that in a number of ways. You can spend money on marketing to get a message put in front of people via letters or website ads or whatever, so they call you. If you don't have a ton of money or a budget to spend on marketing to get your phone to ring, then you need to ring other people's phones. Period. That's step one. It's getting sellers on the phone. Okay. Step two, it's making friends with them. It's trying to set appointments so you can go get face-to-face with them. And ideally, going out and making offers to them, or maybe even just making offers on the phone to them to see if they're truly motivated. All right. And then behind that, you got to follow up. So there's really only three things that matter in this business. Three things that matter. And there's also three money-making activities. They're the same things. It's marketing or getting sellers on the phone. It is running appointments and making offers. Those two kind of go hand in hand. And then it's following up with any and everybody that you've spoken to that you either couldn't get them to agree to an appointment or you couldn't get them to agree to your offer. And it's following up with them. And it often takes time for some of these sellers to realize that the property's not worth what they think it's worth, or for their level of motivation to go from wanting to sell to needing to sell. And it's literally that simple. So the point of today's call and training is all about having the right mindset. And I want to challenge every single person that watches this video to stop diving into content. Like, yeah, it's important to know a few things, but you don't need to know everything. You just need to know the next step. And for a lot of people, they're kicking the can down the road. So here's an example. I was talking to a woman couple weeks ago. She's now in our group. She's in our mastermind. And she had told me that she had been, basically participating in the business for like 4 or 5 months. And I said, well, that's great. Happy to hear that. How many sellers have you talked to this week? And the answer was 0. And then I said, well, how many sellers have you talked to in the last 30 days? And the answer was like 2 or 3. And I said, well, how many sellers have you talked to since you started? And it was like 20 people. And I'm like, well, guys, we got to talk to 20 people before 10 a.m. typically on a normal day. Like, this business is all about getting sellers on the phone. So I'm not trying to argue with this person or with anybody here by any means, but don't come to me and tell me that you're actively involved in marketing and in real estate investing or wholesaling or whatever it may be if you're not talking to any sellers. That's the business. The business that we are in is buying properties from people, sitting at home online, watching a bunch of YouTube videos, or maybe even diving into SKOOL here. I'm going to shoot myself in the foot for a second, but that's okay, right? Diving into SKOOL can be great. You can learn a lot of stuff, but you're not calling sellers or talking to sellers or connecting with property owners when you're watching courses or videos. The mindset we need to have is that we need to block time every day or multiple times a week to get sellers on the phone. It is literally that simple. In fact, in our mastermind group, we have a couple new people that had just joined in the last week or two, and it's exciting because I can't wait to help them, and I'm already helping them. It's great. But they're basically asking the rest of the group, hey, how long is it taking you guys to get your first deal? Or, what should I be doing? And some of the people in the group have been really, really helpful. And that's the point of the group, is to help each other and to collaborate. And they basically said, in a nutshell, stop educating yourself and start talking to sellers. You can learn on the fly. Or if you get stumped, come to the group and we will help you. But you don't need to learn step 6 and step 7 and step 9 and step 14 before you start actively taking action on step one. And step one is getting sellers on the phone. So really the mindset that we need to have is if we want to do deals, we need to talk to sellers, period. You don't need to take 5 more courses or go join 10 more programs or go hire 10 more coaches. All right. You know, that's not necessarily going to speed up the process for you. What's going to speed up the process for you is to quit kicking the can down the road saying, oh, I'll call sellers tomorrow, or I need to take 2 or 3 more courses. And, you know, maybe next week or next month, I'll start talking to sellers. Step one is starting to talk to sellers and find people that own properties that ideally need to sell. Even if they want to sell, that's fine. Ooh, I got shoulder pain. Ugh. Go talk to these people. Go set appointments with them. Go make friends. Go see them face to face. Go start walking properties, right? This is the activities that we do. If you ask me, Dave, what does your typical day look like? Okay, well, it's what marketing is my team doing? Are we getting people on the phone? And if so, can we set appointments with them? That's what we do 80% of the time. It's talking to sellers. It's getting them on the phone. It's making friends. It's asking them why they want or ideally need to sell, what they're asking for the property, what the condition of the property looks like, and if they're available for us to come meet them and walk the property so we can do our best to help them. That's what we do 80% of the time, maybe even 90% of the time. It's talking to sellers. All right. Like I said in the beginning of this call, we don't buy property from property. We buy property from people. We're in the people business. We are really kind of essentially in the hugs and kisses business. We got to find people that are motivated to sell. They need to sell and they have problems. And that's what we do. We solve problems for people. So the mindset truly is to start talking to people. Start getting them on the phone, start calling, texting, emailing, start sending direct mail, maybe build a website and start driving traffic to it so your phone can ring. Marketing is nothing more than a fancy word. And Nick's heard me say this a couple times here now, multiple times. It's nothing more than a fancy word for getting sellers on the phone. That's all it is. So if you are not talking to people that own properties and offering to help them with a problem that they're facing in your life, you are not a real estate investor. You're a wannabe. And I'm not trying to say that in a negative way, but sometimes we have to be a little bold and a little blunt to really solidify this in our heads, right? This business is all about talking to sellers. So there's 3 things that matter. And I talked about this a second ago. I want to talk about it again because it's so incredibly important. Number 1, it's marketing. It's getting people on the phone. Number 2, it's running appointments and or making offers. And those can go in either order. But but that's essentially the second step. Once you talk to a seller, make them an offer to buy that home or go out and meet them, view it, and then make them an offer. But really step 2 is just making offers. That may mean you're going to go run some appointments. It may mean you just do it on the phone verbally. It doesn't really matter, but you got to make offers. And then anybody and everybody that you can't go out and meet or they don't like your offer, you have to follow up. And on average, the average deal that we do here in our business takes us anywhere from 4 to 6 months on average. It doesn't mean that every single deal that comes into our business from our marketing efforts or our cold calling or whatever it may be is going to take 4 to 6 months. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that the 51%, the average, right? Even more than average, it's not going to happen today. We're going to get them on the phone. They're going to be wanting a price that's going to be too high or doesn't make sense. We're going to try to set an appointment or maybe even just make them a verbal offer. They don't like the offer. And we say, okay, no problem. Thank you for your time. Is it okay if we follow up with you in a couple of weeks? And we keep following up with these people. Now, sometimes a lead comes in and they're ready to sell today. And we can go get an appointment set for later this afternoon or tomorrow or a few days out. We can make them an offer when we're on the appointment. We can get the offer signed and we can do the deal quickly. But the reality is like maybe 1 in 20, 1 in 30, somewhere in that range of the deals that come in happen that quick. The majority of them are going to take a couple months, right? And we have to follow up with these people. But let's reverse engineer this for a second. We can't follow up with people that we have never spoke to. Do you see how it kind of goes full circle here now? Like step one is talking to sellers. Quit kicking the can down the road. You can't make offers to people that you don't talk to. You can't, it's impossible. You can't follow up with people that you haven't spoken to. So step one, the mindset that everybody needs to take away from this call. And I'm going to wrap this up here in just a minute because this is really it. I don't want to keep harping on the same thing over and over. But the mindset is that we need to talk to sellers. Nick made a comment here and it says, make calls, make calls, make calls, and then follow up, follow up, follow up. I'm headed to a noon meeting, but wanted to say hi. Absolutely, Nick. I'm so happy to hear that you're headed to a meeting at noon, hopefully with the seller. I love it. Right. But that's it. I mean, this is all about talking to sellers and getting them on the phone. And if you are not getting them on the phone from your marketing efforts where they call you, then you are ultimately responsible to call them. Period. Marketing is a fancy word for getting people on the phone. It's so incredibly simple. This business is so incredibly simple. But people don't want to do step number one. They don't want to talk to sellers. And guys, if you aren't interested in talking to sellers, well, then this probably isn't a business that you should be in, right? Or maybe you're not interested in cold calling. Well, that's fine. You can hire virtual assistants or even local assistants, local employees, or partner with other people to do those activities. But somebody in your business is going to need to do that, period. Somebody's going to need to talk to sellers, period. Somebody else, maybe it's you, is going to need to start making offers to these people and going out and running appointments. And then somebody, maybe it's you, is going to need to follow up with these people that's down the road in the event they're not ready today, or they're asking too much, or they're just tire kickers and they're just kind of wanting a price that doesn't make sense. And we have to follow up with them and be there and be friendly with them and let them know that we can help them, but we're not going to pay retail. We got to buy properties at deep discounts if we want to have success in this business. But that's it. That's all there is to it. The mindset is stop focusing on all the shiny objects. Stop thinking you don't know enough. If you're watching this call here today or this replay here today, I can promise you that step one is not learning every single thing about the business. In fact, that's probably like step 8 or 10. Step one is stop worrying. Stop having all this analysis paralysis about what you need to do, what you need to focus on. All right. What do we do? What are my friends that are doing 200 and 300 deals a year, 20, 30 deals a month in some cases? What are they doing to have success? And I can tell you this, it's not watching endless hours of YouTube videos. It's not diving in and going and reading 10 more books. If they need to learn something in real time, they go to YouTube or they read a book on it in real time. But what they are doing, what we are doing to have success and to buy deals and to wholesale and to fix and flip and add rental properties to our portfolio is simple. It's marketing. It's talking to sellers. It's making friends, trying to get appointments and or just making offers to them on the phone. And if they like the offer, then we send them a contract or we go run an appointment. If they don't like the offer, then we follow up with them in a week or 2 or 3. And we do this over and over and over again. That's really it. That's all there is to this business. So the mindset that everybody needs to have is that you aren't going to know everything. And I don't expect you to. I don't know everything. I've been in the business 18 years. I learned something new every single day. Last night, my mind exploded because I learned a new strategy. And I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. Literally, last night. But I didn't stop, 8 or 9 years ago when I went full time in this business and say, I need to learn every single strategy before I got started. I still wouldn't start. I still wouldn't have any deals under my belt. What I did when I first started this business is I just started cold calling for 2 or 3 hours a day and sending mail. And my phone started ringing from the mail. And whenever I would sit down and cold call, people would answer the phone. And I just tell them, see you, Nick. I just tell them, I'm Dave. I'm looking to buy some properties in the neighborhood. That's the pitch. The pitch doesn't need to be complicated. Who are you? Why are you calling? I'm Dave. I'm trying to buy some more properties in the neighborhood. Do you have any property that you want to sell? And if they do, then I just try to make a friend with them, learn more about the property, learn more about the situation, find out if they have any problems in their life that I may be able to help them. Usually we're looking for distressed people and or distressed property. Sometimes you have a distressed property owner that's also dealing with a distressed situation in their life. And it makes it easy for us to help solve problems for them. But at the end of the day, it's getting these people on the phone. So if you are new in this business and you want to get started and you haven't got started yet, you can literally get started in the next hour. Go on Craigslist, go on Facebook Marketplace, go on Zillow. Find people that have properties listed for sale by owner or even for rent. Pick up the phone, call these people, ask them if they're interested in selling. If it's for rent, say, hey, I see it's for rent. Do you have any interest in selling this one? If it's for sale, you know it's for sale. Make them an offer. If they're asking 120 grand, offer them 80, offer them 70, offer them 60. Cut that asking price in half. All right. Most people aren't going to like those numbers out the gate. That's where the follow-up comes in. But you got to get people on the phone. You got to start making offers. It's literally that simple. That's step one. Don't worry about step 3 or 5 or 7. Because if you constantly are worried about these additional steps, you're not going to start the first step. So it's that simple. That's it. That's the mindset. Step number 1 is marketing to sellers, getting them on the phone. And again, I said this before, I'm going to say it again. Marketing just means getting them on the phone. So you need to start getting sellers on the phone. You need to start calling them, texting them, emailing them, sending mail to them, whatever it takes to get them to either call you or you need to spend time calling them. And if you aren't willing to do that, then this probably isn't the business for you, or you need to hire somebody who is willing to do that. And it's that simple. So that's it. That's the mindset. That's it. All right. I'm going to open it up for a Q&A for just a couple minutes here. I'm actually going to pause the recording or stop the recording, but I'll stick around for a couple minutes here and chat. And other than that, we'll get the replay added up into SKOOL here later this afternoon. But don't overthink it, guys. This business is not hard. You just got to start talking to people. We're buying houses from people. All right. We can't make friends with people if we don't get them on the phone. We got to start talking to people. That's it. That's the mindset we need to have. We need to quit thinking about all this noise and all this other stuff that creates analysis paralysis, which, causes us to do nothing. The mindset is to start. It's to take action. And we're going to make mistakes along the way, but that's how we learn. And if we're afraid of making mistakes, we're never going to get started. We never will get started. So you got to get started. You got to take action. Start talking to sellers. That's it.
Household easy, we close fast and anytime that works for you. Your house don't need it, we'll throw cash, it hits so fast, don't know what to do. Wanted her care to keep it.